From sunny Southern California, we bring you Meet Bridget, a podcast for building confident communication and female badassery. We spotlight women who have bridged the gaps in their lives by building strong relationships and speaking their teenage dreams into reality.
Bring it on, baby!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Welcome back to Meet Bridget Season 5. I'm Asha Gabriel, and I co-host this show alongside my best friend, Kashia Rosenberg. Our show is a giant library of career and life path options for young women to relate to by sharing the honest and unfiltered teenage stories of a diverse array of successful women. We believe that confidence starts with self-trust and that it grows through authentic community. Tapping back into our formative years makes this Meet Bridget community a place where women of all stages and ages can connect on common ground. Today, I'm so excited for you to meet Breann Kinsey. Breann is a marketing leader in the wellness industry and a mother of two amazing boys. In her role as integrated marketing manager at YouTheory, she leads with authenticity, curiosity, and humility, values that guide not only how she moves through work, but also through life. Deeply passionate about connection to herself, her family, her community, and the earth, Breann's intention is to show up fully and whole so others can feel safe to do the same. I adore Breann. I'm just so excited for this conversation because from the moment I met her, I just felt this like beautiful, grounded energy. Breann has been a part of our community for years and years. Back when we were doing mostly events up in LA with girls, it's like teen girls in kind of inner city LA, I had reached out to Breann through another friend to ask if she would help us with meditation and breath work to begin our sessions with the girls. And Breann shows up. I remember she was wearing all white and she just had this energy about her, and she knew exactly what we were going for with the girls. We really wanted to start every session with this really calm energy, connecting to ourselves, and then being able to have this like honest, experience afterwards. She just dialed it right in, and Kashia and I looked at each other and we're like, she gets it. Like she gets the community. So welcome, Breann, to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It has been, I would say, a journey with us in the evolution of Meet Bridget, where we started and where you are now. So I'm so proud of you guys. And I'm just so happy to be still involved and so honored that I'm on the podcast with you.
Yes. Well, we have been starting recently by diving into what you're doing right now for work, what your life looks like, all of your roles, kind of what your day-to-day schedule is. So I mentioned in my little intro that you're working for YouTheory now as a marketing manager. Can you tell us a little bit about your job right now and how that works with your family life?
It's crazy, actually. In search of balance, I would say. But my job is amazing. I'm the integrated marketing manager at YouTheory. And what that means is I'm in charge of all consumer-facing communications and demand-generating efforts. And it's everything from developing the overarching strategy for the brand, developing campaigns, from creative execution to paid ads and social, as well as like launching our TikTok shop. And so it like spans the gamut of what you would consider to be marketing in the traditional sense, but there's so many new mediums I feel like that are coming out these days. And like you can reach people at so many different touch points. And I feel like for a brand to really show up in an impactful way, you really need to meet consumers where they are. And so that is currently what I'm doing. I would say my day-to-day is I wake up around 5:50 and I try to get a workout in before my kids wake up so that I can get some time for myself. I love this hot Pilates studio, the full routine. So I've been integrating the full routine into my schedule and it's amazing. It's like it's like a club, but
I've been trying to get in. I
yeah,
literally can never sign up for classes.
I know. I know. I have to set an alarm at 9:30 every Sunday, and I have to actually plan out my schedule as I'm in a class. So I'm like doing abs and like on my phone trying to book my whole week out. But it is honestly, it's so amazing. It's such a great workout. I feel like I love to just like get in my body and ground like back into my body. Cause sometimes when we like go through like your day or even when you wake up, the first thing that is on my mind, especially with like kids and work, it's like kids and work.
Yeah.
And so to get in a workout right, like after I wake up, it just helps me to be in my body and to be like feet on the floor and to feel grounded. And so I love to do that. And then I just do the morning routine with my kids, drop them off at school, and then start my day at work with my team.
Are you working in an office or remotely right now?
I do both. So we have a hybrid schedule. It's 2 days in the office and 3 days out. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's in the office. I'm sorry, it's at home. And then Tuesday and Thursday, it's in the office. But I like to have that flexibility. And it just so happens that my children's preschool is right by my work. So
Amazing.
yeah, it all aligned in the best way.
That's so great. I feel like you're very smart. Breann and I went to UCLA at the same time and didn't really interact. We didn't run into each other
We
just
didn't
because
know
she
about
was
each other yet.
cool. But she's super smart. You'll be able to tell that immediately. But it like you take all that like professionalism, marketing experience, thoughtfulness, and then you're combining it with this wellness side of you. For
Mm-hmm.
people that don't know, YouTheory makes a variety of like health supplements. How would you describe the company and like the size of the company and where you can find these products?
Yeah, I would say so. YouTheory started as a SoCal-based brand. Started as a collagen company actually, and it was back in 2012. And then the company was acquired by Jameson Wellness in 2022. And Jameson is the largest VMS brand in Canada. I would say they're valued at over $1 billion. And with the acquisition, YouTheory is a challenger brand in the US. So working to increase market share and penetration. And I would say that now, I mean, as starting from a collagen supplement brand and now having a huge portfolio with hero SKUs like our turmeric product as well as our ashwagandha. We have Shilajit, and our innovation pipeline is growing. We're moving into longevity products, which I'm super excited about. But our products are available on our website, on Amazon, in Costco. Costco is a really big retailer for us, as well as Sprouts. But I would say you can go on our website and peruse and find the supplement that's right for you. But the intention with the brand is to really inspire wellness in the lives of everyone daily. And we make supplements that are high quality. We use premium science-backed ingredients that are rooted in nature. So like I mentioned, there's the turmeric supplement, which is an herbal supplement, as well as ashwagandha, but we make sure that we use clinically studied ingredients so that they're effective. You don't want to be taking supplements that you don't know if they're going to work. So everything that we do produce is effective and has the clinical backing. So you know that you can trust the brand. And I'm just so excited for where the brand is going right now because we're just making waves. We just ended up having an event with the PPA tour. I don't know if you're familiar with the pickleball tournament, but it's a really big
I
pickleball
was like, not
tournament.
PGA, pickleball, PPA.
Yeah, pickleball.
Cool.
We did a big activation there and we had a big influencer event that was at the PPA. And it just ended up, we created some really beautiful content, but also just like had a really great experience with the 22,000 people that came through over the course of 4 days. And it really did elevate the brand so much and the experience that people had with our brand. So I'm super excited about where we're headed with our next campaigns and our next events.
So cool. For someone that might think like, okay, that sounds like, a career that would interest me, what are some qualities that you think would make someone really successful in your role in your industry?
I would say having the blend of a strategic mindset as well as creative, like a blend of strategy and creative is really important because you have to be able to have a vision And then also being able to effectively communicate, because then you'll have to be able to effectively communicate that vision. And so really understanding where you see the brand growing and laying out a plan on how to get there. Being a planner is helpful. And also being able to lead a team, because you can't do it by yourself. I'm only as great as my team, and my team is so amazing. I always say that I'm just so grateful for the people that I'm surrounded with, because they really do help me to, and I mean, it's not just me, but we are able to achieve what we do because we work so well together and we're all aligned with expectations. And also we hold ourselves to a high standard. I feel like we can get into that later, but
you rise to the people around you too. Like I feel
100%.
like, what is there? There's a saying that's like a rising tide raises
Lifts
all
all
ships.
ships. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorites. I feel like for teams, anytime working, especially with other women, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when you replace like this sense of like competition or fear motivating what you're doing, but just having this like, hey, when like we all win.
Yeah,
You know?
collaboration, right?
Yeah.
I feel like collaboration is so important, especially in what I do. I manage so much of the processes of internal cross-functional communication as well as external vendors. There's so many different people that I'm essentially like the hub of a wheel, or like you know what I mean? And everyone else is like the spokes. And I have to be able to communicate effectively the vision, the strategy, and where we're going, and really get people excited about it. So yeah, I feel like if you have that in you and you like to like rally a team, then this is definitely a career choice or an option to explore.
Tell me a little bit about the team that you do lead. Like how many people are working, kind of reporting to you? How big is the company in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah. So the company, so we are, I would say the front office is probably around 75 people. And then we have our manufacturing plant. In total, we have around 195 people in Irvine specifically. And then we have a global team that sits in Canada. And our global team, I don't know the exact number of our global team because that
Yeah.
extends to the whole like Jameson organization, but it's a pretty sizable company. I would say like that's what would be considered a mid-sized company, right?
Yeah.
So, and my team specifically, so when I came on, it was just me. And I've been there since last May. So it's a little over a year. And since then, my team's expanded. I've hired an assistant marketing manager as well as a social media manager, now looking to bring on a content creator. And the role is open. So this is an
Love
opportunity
it.
that, yes, looking for a digital content creator. So if you're out there and you're interested in,
Brianne.
yes, in wellness,
Right,
and
this is
you,
the best kind of interview. It's like not only, what is her career like, but like if you literally want to work with her, show up and
yes,
apply.
exactly. Yeah. So currently it's my team. I'm a team of three. But we have so many, again, like it's just like cross-functional management, and collaboration that it just feels like the team is so big because we manage so many aspects of the campaign and the processes and again, demand generating activities. So yeah, I would say my team is the whole company really.
Yeah. I feel like something that people don't always talk about when you're working in a larger company or at least a mid-sized
Mm-hmm.
company, and you are a manager, so you're tasked with hiring and managing other people. It's always a skill. It's a separate skill set from necessarily like the work that you're doing and the deliverables you're creating or whatever. It's like a completely different function of your job to be able to know who to hire, like
Yeah.
what are you looking for, what's the most important part about the people you need to help you accomplish your goals, and then also like managing them. Can you tell us a little about like how you learn to hire people, and
Mm-hmm.
what you look for in a really successful hire?
Yes, I would say there are so many things that go into the recruiting process, and it's if it was just about what's on the paper, that'd be one thing, but it really is like you have to take into account culture fit, and if this person is collaborative. And so when I'm hiring someone, I'm looking for not only the skill set, but does this person have passion? Do they have a desire to grow, and are they curious? Like curiosity, if you don't have all like every skill, right? If you don't check every single box, that's okay. if you're curious and you're willing to learn and you show passion and I would say like grit, then I feel like that can take you way further than having all of the hard skills.
Yeah.
Because there's also that emotional intelligence that plays a lot, like a huge role, because you need to learn how to navigate, especially the corporate structure, if you're looking to go into a corporate company or like a mid-sized company. But each company varies. I would say like our company it is corporate, but it's pretty lax in the way that things are run. But I really do look for connection. Like, am I connecting with this person? Can we communicate effectively? Do we hear each other? Is this person a good listener? Are they, you know what I mean? Am I able to, it all plays a role in the hiring process. And it just, is this person going to be someone who is going to be able to work with and encourage the people around them to be their best selves and to show up as their best selves? Like, can I be myself with this person as well? That's a big thing for me. So those are the things that I look for, in addition to obviously the hard skills and the skills needed for the role.
I kind of feel like, your resume, your work experiences, your hard skills get you into the room for these interviews. There are obviously more technical jobs if you're an engineer or something, but especially for something like a leadership role or something in marketing where you're really working with people, you're creating a feeling, you're creating messages,
Yes.
Having that when you're in the room, really showing up as your full self. This is just a personal opinion. I have come to believe that sincerity, just real sincerity
Yeah.
to people, is my favorite quality. Is literally the quality that I feel like is the centerpiece of every person that I like to spend time with, because when someone's sincere, that you can trust them,
Yep.
that they have like an earnestness about them and that curiosity, and that you're really, it's like what you see is what you're getting. And if that person makes a mistake or doesn't know something, they can also, without covering it up or making excuses, they can say, I don't know, or I did this wrong and I want to fix it. Can you
Yeah.
help me? And I think that that's such a skill that people don't always emphasize when they're creating the resumes or, applying to jobs.
100%. I feel like sincerity is like, it creates a place of safety for you, right? You know that if you have sincerity and accountability, like you mentioned, but also that what you described as humility, like someone who can say like, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn, like that holds so much weight.
Yeah.
Because you're showing that you're adaptable, you can learn, you can grow, you're willing to take on something that you're not shying away from a challenge. And that's really important, especially in this day and age, when in the marketing specifically, like things are changing so quickly that we have to adapt to all these new platforms and ways of reaching people.
Yeah, that it's almost like it used to be that you come in, you're like, I have 10 years of experience doing email marketing, and
Exactly.
maybe you still have that, but there's all these different platforms, and now with AI and stuff, like things are moving so quickly that you can't really come in and say like, I have this experience and that's going to make me valuable to you. You
Right.
have to have a growth mindset because things are moving so quickly, like within your year, even being in this role, like I'm sure things have changed.
Yes.
You've refocused on different things. You've
Yes.
grown, you've hired people. So having that flexibility is just so paramount.
I agree. I will say, and I'm going to take this a little bit into like where I started, but when I first started my career, I really didn't understand like this whole business. I started my career in media, and I started a big media agency called Universal McCann. And I was a media planner. And as I started to, I guess, like go through, like understand like what was needed for the role and the responsibilities of this job, I was like, wow, I don't like media planning at all, actually.
Yeah.
What I like is marketing. But at UCLA, there was no marketing. You couldn't go to school for marketing. You go to
There was like one class and I took it and I was like, it wasn't actually even marketing. It was like something else.
Right. So so I didn't even know that. I wasn't aware of, I just didn't have the information that I needed. So so I was like, okay, I went into, just jumping around, but at UCLA, I was like, well, I'm going to go into sociology because it's the study of people and why people do the things that they do in groups, right? So that kind of makes sense to me. And then I'm like, well, then I went into media planning. As I look back, because hindsight is 2020, I can connect the dots and see like where I've been and how that plays into where I am now. But at the time, I felt so lost.
Yes.
Going through my journey, I felt like, oh no, I don't have like, it's not a clear path. I can't say that I'm an expert in this because I've done so many different things in marketing, where now that's a superpower. Like now, like the rise of the marketing generalist who can really see the full picture and who has had experience in everything, like that truly is, that's a superpower, to be able to know how everything functions and how it plays. And that's where I'm like, oh, well, my role now, I do that, but I didn't know that what it was at the time.
I think we all hear a lot of podcasts where people, especially successful people that have like been through, and they're looking back on their lives, and it's like, if I would have known, this and this makes sense now, but it didn't make sense then. I think that like we hear a lot of that. And I think to add to that those moments of feeling lost, like you're talking about in college, like, I don't really, this kind of seems like it's right. And then you get in someone, you're like, actually, I kind of hate this, but like, I like the person who I'm emailing with, that's success. Like that is literally having that feeling of like, this isn't quite right, or I don't quite know what I'm doing, means you're in a growth place. That like, you don't have that discomfort when you're not growing. So almost adding to that, like what you're saying about having that hindsight feeling, adding to that those feelings were exactly what you needed to get you where you are right now, that like you were in a growth phase that entire time.
Exactly. And being able to honor the feelings, right? Because sometimes we have them and we don't honor them. And then so when we honor them and we stay in a place longer than we're meant to, that's when you start to feel, I would say you start to experience a little bit of, I don't know, like struggle, or you're suffering, if you will. But it's
or
just
like burnout.
Yeah. Right.
That happens when people stay in one place when their body's saying, or their soul is saying, this is
you
wrong.
need to go. And I truly believe that if you don't make the decision on your own, like the universe is going to push you out some way, one way or another.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen.
So interesting. Okay, so you started in media planning. Where did you go from there? Once you realized like this isn't quite right for me, what did you do?
I started in media planning, and then I quit. I was like, I did that for about 2.5 years, and then I quit. And I was like, I really want to go into marketing specifically. I don't want to be in Excel spreadsheets. I'm an ideator. I like to think of like, I like to create from ideation to execution. I like to do the whole thing. So I was like, where can I do that? And at the time, my cousin was working for this company called Evolve. And he was like, oh, there's a marketing manager position open. He's like, I'd like to present you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then he presented me and I ended up getting the job. And it was so great because I was just coming up with ideas for different brands to integrate into our online platform. And at that time, I was working for the platform that I was representing was called Crave, and it was like a male lifestyle platform. So it covered anything from music, like EDM and indie bands, and also fashion. So it was a fun time, and I just was pumping out all these different really fun ideas. People would come to me with a budget and be like, "What can you do with $100,000? Or what can you do with $800,000?" And I was like, all right. And I would just have to come up with all the ideas. And then they get pitched to the brand, and then, they get bought in. But then from there, I realized that it was just so repetitive. It became more of the same. So I would say like 2 years of that. And I really just needed something more. And at that time, I could feel my soul was like, you need to figure this out. Like, I was in burnout for sure. And I remember going to a psychic during this time because I was like, what's going on? There was a lot of like turmoil in the company internally, a lot of restructuring. And I wasn't sure what my next move was because I felt secure in that space because of the income that I was making. Yeah. So that was a decision that I had to make, leave something that made me feel secure financially, or take care of my health and like listen to my soul. And I chose to stay. and a marketing leader came in, a new one, and she ended up letting me go. And it was a shock to me, but it
Yeah.
was exactly what I
The
needed.
universe just being like, no, girl, get
Exactly.
out.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember at that time, like I mentioned, so I ended up seeing a psychic and I'm like, what's the next move for me? What do I do? And she was like,
Yeah.
yeah, you came here to talk about career. She's like, but what we really need to talk about, she's like, your grandmother comes to you in the form of a bird. And it was so interesting because at the time I was living in an apartment off of Doheny in West Hollywood. And there was this beautiful tree outside of my window. And a bird would always fly from the tree branch into my window. And this was happening, I would say, for like a few weeks. And I remember taking a video and sending it to my brother and being like, look at this bird. This bird does this every single day.
Running into the window?
It would just perch itself on the tree
Oh, okay.
branch
I'm
and
like,
then
oh, it's
fly in.
running itself?
No, it would. It would see itself in the window and run into the window and then fall. So this,
Yeah.
I remember the psychic saying, like, your grandmother comes to you in the form of a bird and she's really concerned about your negative self-talk. And she's like, why do you think no one will love you unless you're, or why do you think no one will love you if you're not perfect? And I was like, what? Like, I was like, what are you talking about?
Like, can you just write that down so I can just dissect it?
Yeah. I'm like, ma'am, I just want to know, am I going to get another job? Like,
Yeah.
like,
Like, that was not the assignment.
yeah. And
Lady.
she was like, are you aware of the things that you say to yourself when no one is around? Are you aware of your self-talk? And I was like, no, I'm not. And then I left that and I just, honestly, I drove home and I was like, I don't think I got what I needed from this psychic session. And as I kind of went through the next months, that's when I started to uncover the true meaning of what that meant. As I really dove into introspection and meditation, that's when I started to do a lot of meditation, yoga, spending time in nature. And as I did that, I started to understand myself and really ask me that question. I was like, why do I speak to myself this way? Why am I not enough? Like, why do I tell myself that I'm not enough if I'm not perfect? And then I just kind of went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, I think this is perfect timing for us to explore that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to take it back to your younger years. And, I think this is a great window to see, like, okay, you were having these feelings of perfectionism and that self-talk. Where did you go? What was like the first thing you kind of uncovered in your mind as you were exploring where that came from?
I grew up, I am one of three. I come from a family of five. My brother and sister, we're all very close in age. So my sister is 1 year older than me and my brother is 2 years younger than me. And we grew up in a household where achievement was praised and was expected. High achieving, goal setting, but really, I never really set my own goals. Like my dad set them all for me. My whole life was pretty much planned out for me. And I just followed the path. I really didn't have to think for myself. I just did. And I got into this, like, that's what I did. I knew that if I did the best and I did my best and I got really good grades and I was really good at soccer and I was really great at choir, then I would receive praise. And so that was just what was embedded in me. And that was the imprint that I had. And so that's what I did my whole life growing up. And I could see how my brother and sister were affected by this. We all were, right? That's like, I would say, like, if you have a parent who is really, really enforcing the belief that you're only as good as your best grade, you're only as good as the amount of goals that you scored, or, then it just kind of, that becomes your belief about yourself. I'm only as good as this. I have to be this to receive love. But I will say that my parents are the most loving and amazing people. And as a parent now, I know that they were doing the best with what they had. And it was just something that was coming. They were parenting like they were being parented.
I feel like that is there's like a moment in therapy. I feel like you get to a point where you're like, all right, I am who I am for like my experiences up to this point, and then also the way that I was like raised as a child. And then there's like a next layer when you realize like not just like, oh, what my parents did, but like, okay, and like how were my parents created,
Mm-hmm.
and what raised them, where you
Mm-hmm.
kind of get the next layer where it's like you have a compassion for your parents, where it's not just like, okay, now I'm going to blame my parents for this and this, but it's like, I feel like we have a lot of like very interesting parallels in our lives.
Yes.
Like I've got an older sister that's 2 years older and a little brother that's 3 years younger. And we both went to UCLA. I believe we're both Sagittariuses.
Yes.
Um,
We both have
but
two children.
yes,
We
both
both
have
live
two
in
children. I got two
Newport.
girls, you got two boys. We're in Newport. Um, both very like creative, but also industrious. But I look back and like I was definitely raised in a similar situation. Like it was, when I got like an A minus, my mom was like, "Well, did anyone get an A or an A plus?" And I was like, "Well, one person." They're like, "Why?" It wasn't like, "Oh, great. How hard did you work? What
Yeah.
did you learn?" It was like, "Why did someone do better than you?" You
Mm-hmm.
know, like, and I had to explain myself. And I feel like it did get me into an incredible college. And like, I have
Yep.
this, because I'm not going to say that that's like something I wish I could just get rid of, that like, um, goal pursuit kind of mindset sometimes. Like when I get my mind on something and if I really get motivated, like I like to still achieve, but I feel like um really like having context for achievement.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I graduated from UCLA, I think it was like the last day or something. I remember walking around campus and I looked around and I was just by myself and I just started crying because I was like, "Oh my
Mm.
God, I have never asked myself what I want or like to do." I'm like, this whole time I've been following what I thought everybody would think would be good. The
Yes.
best school, the best
Yes.
curriculars to get into that school, the best grades once you're in the school,
Yes.
research positions inside the school, the best internships and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to have anybody else measuring my success. Like that you get your degree, it's like it is very concrete. Like you get these grades, you're going to get this, here's your GPA. And I just had this like break, you know. I realized that I'd have to set my next set of parameters. And I really felt that made me panic. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of comes from that situation of um, just seeking praise and recognition of achievement as a child.
100%. I will say that honestly, okay, so going through high school, I mean, my whole life was planned for me. Okay. So I was really great at a lot of things because I can really hyper focus and apply myself. And I have a photographic memory. So it's easy for me to memorize things and then just regurgitate them. And a lot of school is like that, like memorization and regurgitation. Practical application, also, I've learned to be great at that as well. But it's
Huh?
just like, I feel like going through school, there were some subjects that I didn't really love, but I was just good at because I knew how to navigate them, like science. I did not love science, but my principal told my father when I was in high school, like, she's so good at science, she needs to be a doctor. And so my dad was like, "You're going to be a doctor. You're going
Yeah.
to UCLA and you're going to be a doctor." And I was like, "Okay." So when I applied for colleges, I really wanted to go away from home because I just wanted to feel like I had a little bit of autonomy, or a little bit of, you know what I mean? I'm free in a sense,
I'm making some of my own decisions.
but I was so afraid to make my own decisions because if I
Yeah,
made my own decisions and I failed, then I made the wrong decision. Do you know what I mean? But
I so relate to
but if
that.
I follow the path that someone set for me and I did well, then that means that I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yeah, because it's like it's outside of self, that it's
exactly,
like it's been authenticated by somebody else. Like it's not,
exactly.
I think it's a completely different feeling to be like, I'm going to set what my idea of success is and I'm either going to reach it or I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's for me to no one's going to give me a gold star or an
Yep.
A plus, or a GPA. And like, that's okay. Like, that's actually the most important thing is to have it be approved by myself.
Exactly. Honoring yourself. But if you've never taken the time to connect with yourself and really ask yourself what you want, it's a scary place to be because you're accountable for your own actions. You're accountable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so for me, I remember I was always so afraid to write out my goals because if I wrote them out, then that would mean that they're concrete. And if I see that I didn't cross something off, then that would mean that I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And so it was only until I would say the last like 3 years that I started actually writing my goals out and really being like, okay, or actually maybe before children, but right before children that I made the decision to be accountable for myself, to hold myself accountable to myself, to stay accountable to the promises and the things that I want for myself because I matter. Like
Yeah.
I had to have that conversation with myself.
Yeah.
I matter.
And it's okay. Like you also don't have to, I feel like I have faced feeling like I need to justify my wants
Mm-hmm.
to someone else if I ever share them, where it's like, well, this because of this and this and this, and it's like, no, I can actually just say, I want this.
And that's
You
it.
know,
You don't
and
even
just
have
let
to
it sit,
explain. Yeah,
you know?
exactly. This
And I
is
feel like that can be really difficult because I feel like everything kind of required like, well, this is what I feel, but let me explain it to you so then you will agree with me and endorse it, you know?
well, it's so funny that you say that because I did go to UCLA and I did start out in pre-med as a biology major. And I went through the first 2 years just completely struggling because I didn't like it. I was just following the path that my dad set for me because I wanted him to be proud of me. And I wanted him to know that I could do whatever he thought I could do it. And so I wanted to do that. And I just remember towards the end of sophomore year, and I was talking to my counselor and we were like planning out like my next years. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I have a tutor and I cry every time that I have to take a test. I just feel like it's so highly competitive that I didn't feel like the collaboration. I'm such a social person, in terms of just wanting to be in like a group and collaborate and share ideas.
Inspiring people.
Yeah. And that's not it when you're like in a highly competitive like pre-med program. So I went through with my counselor and we looked at like what my options were, like what could you possibly transition the credits that you currently have to where you're not like far behind, you don't have to be here for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, honestly, sociology and global studies looks like a good option. Like, let's do that. And so I remembered changing my major into sociology with a minor in global studies. And I was so afraid to tell my dad. I was so afraid. We went on a family trip right after I did that. And I had already signed up for summer school to just like make up the credit so that I wasn't behind. And right before summer school, we went on this family trip and I told my dad and he was so angered. He was so upset. And he was like, I'm not going to financially support you anymore. You can ask your mom. This is it. Like, don't ask me for anything. You're going to do that. You're on your own. And I was like, okay.
Talk about like the accountability, right?
Yeah. I was like, I'm on my own. Great.
Being told that this is I didn't know what to expect when you were saying like you were going to say whether he was really kind about it or
No. He was enraged, like truly, because he was like, why am I paying for you to go to UCLA if you're not going to be a doctor? Right. You could go anywhere. Right. You could go to community college. You're not going to be a doctor. Like, and I was like, oh no, I'm failing you. And then but I'm like, there was something inside of me, that little voice that I finally listened to for 1 second. And I was like, but I'm not failing me. And I'm going to prove to you that I can do it. And so I did summer school. And I remember summer school, I got straight A's. He would always check every quarter, he would check my grades. He would be like, give me your login. And I'm like, okay. And when he saw that I had straight A's, then he was like, okay,
yeah,
fine. I'll be okay with that. But I was like, okay.
I mean, I think there is something to that. Like so my mom immigrated from India and, her, like the way she saw education was that it's like, it's your ticket up. Like education is how you create a life for yourself. And she did that for herself by becoming a doctor, and so that's like the format of a career that she knew was like, you go to X school and then medical school and you do, optometry school in her case. And like, you earn your degree and then you have a practice, and it was very linear. And I think that there is something to that, like I had different moments where like they didn't understand something I was doing, and they were like, "No, that's a whole." Like when I got my modeling contract, my
Mm.
first year at UCLA, and my mom was like, "No." She's like, "This is a horrible idea. You're going to do drugs and you're going to drop out of college." And I was like, "First of all, what?" But then it was kind of a nice motivator for me. I was like, "No, you know what I'm going to do is I'm I'm going to do even better at school. Like I will figure this out,
Hmm.
and I'm going to make money, and I'm going to like contribute to, like I wanted to join a sorority also, and they were like, no, and I'm like, well, what if I just pay for it out of my
Mm.
modeling money? And I did, and eventually, then they started seeing the magazines and this and that, and then they're like showing it to their patients,
Yeah,
and I feel like sometimes our parents, it's really hard because it's like they want to create something that's they know is going to be safe for you. And we feel
100%.
that with our kids too,
Yeah,
or it's like, I want my kids to be safe. So like I sign them up for the things that I think are, what I would have liked or what I know about. And like, it's very possible that what they're going to be interested in is something really new and uncomfortable for me too.
100%. And I think that, I mean, I, I feel like we do have so many parallels. My dad was born in the Netherlands, and um, his his parents immigrated with my aunts and uncles to the Netherlands because at the end of World War II, there was a lot of persecution happening, especially to Christians in Indonesia. And so they came over to the Netherlands where it was more like a safe haven. And then my grandfather got an opportunity to come and work in the US, and he brought the family over. And so my dad comes from a family of immigrants where they literally were so poor when they moved out here, they had nothing. And he was just like, he's one of 7 children. And so he's like, you work hard and you know what I mean? You put in your dues and you get paid. And he did that. Like he worked really hard, and he made a really great life for me and my family, and I'm so grateful. And as a parent, I look back and I'm like, wow, like you guys really did everything that you possibly could to ensure that we
Yeah.
had a better life than you did. And they did say that when we were younger. They're like, we just want you to have more opportunity. We just want you to, we want you to be able to do whatever you want to do. And like, this is going to be your key. This is going to give you agency. This is, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Education is the key that's going to open the doors for you. And now, having gone through it, I believe it. But there were moments where I knew the path, and I was getting there, and I would self-sabotage, like right at the top, right when I was going to just like, I would push and like do my best and succeed. And then in high school, I was going to be the valedictorian. And my principal was like, if she doesn't get to school on time, if she keeps coming late to her first period, I can't allow her to be valedictorian because she's not here. Like she's not, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? She doesn't have the attendance. Yes, she gets all her work done and she gets straight A's on the test and she has the highest GPA. Like I graduated high school with a 4.2. But because I would self-sabotage and get to school at 7:30 when I was supposed to be there at 7, I wasn't able to be the valedictorian. And my dad was like, "Why are you doing this?" And
Yeah.
I couldn't answer. I was just like, well, I don't know. And then at
Yeah.
UCLA, I only recently told people this, but I actually only graduated from UCLA in 2021. I stopped going to school and self-sabotaged my graduation in 29. So 2009 was the year that I walked. So I had already walked, and I had one more class that I had to take for my minor, and it was a global studies class. It was like global studies, like economics of
Yeah.
global studies. And I decided to party with my friends and go to Miami and go to Vegas, and instead of really focusing and finishing, I self-sabotaged. But I self-sabotaged in a way. I was strategic. I'm like, what am I doing? Instead of actually failing the class, I got an incomplete so that I would still be able to finish whenever I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so after I had my first son, I was like, this is something that has been in the back of my mind for so long. And it's shame. Like I feel so much shame for having done this and going through my career and being like, yes, I'm a UCLA graduate, but it was not the honest truth because I didn't finish that, like those last 5 credits. I was like, I have to go back and finish. And after I had my first son and I was pregnant with Kai, I went back to school and I finished that class, and I ended up, it's so interesting going back to school after you hadn't been in school for so long, because you have such a different perspective. And I
Yes.
just loved it so much. And I was so engaged. I was just like,
Like, I want to take more
yeah,
classes.
like
Let's do it all over
I like
again.
loved it so much that I like did extra
Yeah.
credit and extra credit. And like my teacher was like, why are you doing all, like, you already have an A, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I was just like, I had to prove to myself that I was worthy,
Yeah.
because I held on to it and I felt shame for so long for doing that to myself. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah. Have you found like that? I think that's so relatable that like the last leg,
Mm-hmm.
self-sabotaging.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the closest thing I've found to figuring it out is, God, whose quote is it? Somebody has a quote that's like, "You're not actually as afraid of failure as you are of how powerful you can be."
100%.
Something to that extent. That it's like that's actually more. It creates more fear, honestly, than failure does in the first place. Do you have any tools when you recognize yourself doing that or being tempted to do that?
I
Or like, what is that behavior kind of telling you, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a fear of being seen, truly.
Mm,
Like a fear of someone truly seeing me. Because if you see me, then you're going to find me out. Like you're going to know me. And something shifted in me after I had children. And after I went through like this spiritual journey where I mentioned I dove deep into meditation, and just like I started that meditation community, and I really just wanted, connection was so important for me. Connection to myself, connection to everything around me, to like deepen my connection with life, because I truly am a lover of life. Like I want to explore all aspects of life and of myself. I'm my curiosity for life is insatiable. I feel like I'm constantly searching and seeking and
clearly.
researching
Yeah,
and looking, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Wanting to know like everything about everything. And so I think I turned that on to me, and I was like, okay, let me learn about me. Let me know everything about me, so that if I can hold a mirror up to myself and see me, then I won't be afraid to show myself to other people. And
Mm,
if I can accept all those parts of me, then other people can accept me. And then, you know what I mean? I don't have to prove myself anymore. It's something that I
yeah.
still struggle with. Because I find some of these, like, again, I mentioned perfectionism. We talked about that. And
Mhm.
perfectionism and the fear of being seen are very closely tied together. With the self-sabotage, right? So it's perfectionism because I have a fear of being seen for who I really am, because I might be messy or I might not be perfect. So let me just present as perfect, and then you're not going to know that I deal with things that are not beautiful, or that I've had, like struggles in my past. Like, so, so I
Yeah.
notice sometimes in my current like working life that I will push myself to do more, to be more, to achieve more. And I will go to the ends. I will work harder than anybody in the room, because I'm like, I can. I believe in myself, but I'm also like, I can, but do I have to do it all the time? Do I have to push myself like this all the time? Or can I live in flow? Can I allow myself to be in the flow of life without just pushing so much?
Yeah. Or like pushing because you think that's what's expected of you by others, where it's like, well, what if I don't show up that way, their idea of me might change, And I think you said something so powerful about like doing the work within yourself, like
Mm-hmm.
knowing yourself. So it's like you're seeking your own approval first and like examining yourself and realizing like, okay, here's something about me. How does that make me feel? How am I happy with this element of my life right now? Am I happy with how I've been behaving in these ways or whatever? And then like creating that so that by the time you're sharing it with the world, you're not then seeking approval.
Right.
I feel like as children, and most children do this, and it's interesting having our own, because I feel like I look at my kids and I'm like, the temptation is to, when they show me a picture they've drawn, to say, that's beautiful, honey,
Mm-hmm.
or I love that. And I do that.
Yeah,
But then also
same.
saying, you worked hard on that. Or what's your favorite part about this drawing? You know, what were
Mm-hmm.
you thinking about when you made that? And kind of like talking to them a little bit more about their process
Yep.
and intention versus the finished product where they're like, is it good, mommy? And like having me give them the approval where it's like, do you like that? Like, is that the best one you've made
Yes.
in your opinion? You
Yes.
know? And it's really hard because it is not how we were raised, you
No.
know? And it's not how our parents were raised either. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting shift to try to intentionally make when it's like the kids become another mirror, right? For you
100%.
to kind of see like, all right, like what do I want to do kind of differently?
Yes, I would say parenting is like the most beautiful spiritual process. You just come home to yourself, and then everything that you haven't faced comes up because you're a mirror to them and they're a mirror to you. You're just reflecting back to each other.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that you said is really important that I think was never asked to me, but how, what do you think about this? How do you
Mm.
feel? And I have to ask myself that, how do you feel?
It feels honestly really foreign. Literally that
Yeah.
moment, I have that moment standing, I think I was like kind of by the library. It's like seared on my brain. Like I realized I was like, I've never asked myself that before. I've never asked what I want to do
Oh, yeah.
ever. I've asked what I think other people should, you know, I've asked other people to tell me what to do,
Yes.
you know, or what's the most impressive thing to do. And it's a
Yes.
really like, it's very uncomfortable. And at that point, it's also a growth feeling, you know, like that
100%.
discomfort it means that you're in a growing place, which I feel like being a parent is constantly placing us in.
100%. And the other thing that I was thinking about too was like when people would ask me, as I was like going through high school or even just, yeah, as you're going through your teens and stuff, who is your idol? Who do you look up to? I never could really answer that question because I feel like I only looked forward at the next thing that I had to do. Like I was like, I don't know because I never thought about anybody. Like I was just like, if my dad tells me what I need to do, I'm going to do that because that's what I need to be doing. And I didn't have an idol or I didn't have anybody that I was like, oh, I really like the characteristics of this person because I didn't know what I liked. I
Mm-hmm.
only knew what I thought I liked, but it was really just what was told to me, what was
Yeah.
communicated to me as like the best or the way that I should be or the things, you know what I mean? I had no idea. And so as I started to really uncover that, like, who do I look up to? Who do I, who do I really think like models the behaviors or even the values that that I want to exhibit? And it wasn't until I became a mother that I was like, wow, I look back at my mother and I was like, she was so kind. She's so loving. She created a safe space for me and she nurtured me. I was a child who expressed a lot of emotion. And now that I have a child that expresses a lot of emotion, I understand how much you have to hold, how much space you
Yes.
have to create for that, because you also have to create the space for yourself to not take on
Yes.
everything, to hold the
Yes.
space and to allow them to express and to not be like, don't be that way. No, I want you
Shut
to,
it
yeah.
down or be afraid of it, like
Exactly.
afraid
The
of your
questions that
feeling.
I ask my son, like Kai, I'm like, what does that feel like in your body? Where do you feel that? And I know that he doesn't really understand what that means, but I just I want him to become aware of like what it feels like when he's feeling so much, he just emotion. Are you feeling it
Mhm.
right here? Are you feeling it in your tummy? Like, where are you feeling that? So that I can help him to identify what's going on in his body and to feel safe to feel that. Because I never
Yeah.
felt safe to feel my feelings. It was like, hey, you're crying. Be quiet.
Yeah.
Like,
Stop crying.
she's crying
Don't
again.
be a crybaby. No, those
Yeah.
oh, she's crying again. I literally have my uncles who are like, oh, she's crying again. You
Yes.
know what that you do? Freaking cry more. Like,
Exactly. No.
because now I don't, and now I feel shame about
Ex-
crying itself, and I'm losing track of even the reason I was crying. I
yeah.
mean, I I feel like that's so beautiful because our parents' voices when we're really young become our inner voice
Mm-hmm.
later, you know? So even if he's not understanding, like, where do you feel that in your body? One day he's going to be really upset and he's not going to have you right there with him. And he's going to be like, where do I feel this in my body?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or like, what are my tools to help me in this situation. My daughter was like having an absolute meltdown a couple weeks ago in the car, just like she's just tired, crying, crying, crying. And then she could like barely breathe, like that kind of like gasping
Yeah.
cry. She goes, I want you to help me breathe. And I was like,
Oh,
I am so honored, honey. I'm like, I would love to help you breathe. And like in that moment, I was just like, I was so proud of her for like finding that tool, but then
mm-hmm.
also like, okay, I'm giving her something,
Yeah.
and that's what she can reach for even when she feels totally out of control. So I feel like that mirror feeling, especially when like our kids, I do think we're given the kids that we're meant to have.
100%. I was like, I was
And
given
it,
a version of me. So,
yeah, that's like my second daughter. She is like I'm a deep feeler too, and
mm-hmm.
like expressor. Like, yeah, if I'm feeling something, it's on my
Yep.
face. It's coming. I'm crying. I'm
Yeah.
joyful. Like it's here on my face, and she is that way too. And it's like big joy, but also like deep feeling. And my husband's like, man, I don't know what to do with that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
she's me.
Yeah.
Like I see my inner child walking around and feeling this way, and I'm like, wow, like it's triggering in one sense,
Yes.
for things that maybe I haven't fully faced.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's also like I have this incredible compassion for this little person who really is a extension of me in a lot of ways. It's
100%.
crazy.
I honestly like when you said that your daughter asked you to breathe with her, the one thing that popped into my head was, wow, what a privilege to feel safe to ask for help when you need it, and to
Yeah,
feel and for the help to actually show up for you, right?
yeah.
Like when I was little, I was like, I need mommy or I need daddy.
And
It's
like,
like,
can't stop crying. And they're like,
yeah,
yes, you can. Like,
stop
"Whoa."
crying. You're crying so much, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like, and Kai is similar. Like when he's crying and he's feeling it, he'll be like, mommy, I want to do a deep breath. I want to do a deep breath with you. And so we'll do 3 deep breaths because
yeah,
it just helps to calm the nervous system.
it
And my
does.
husband teaches a lot of breath work and does a lot of breath work on his own. And so he does breath work and he models that for the kids. And so they'll even want to do breath work with him or want to meditate. We're at a beach house right now in Newport, and we're staying with like a few family, or well, there's one family and they have 2 children. And my husband was outside with the 4 kids and he was leading a meditation for the kids at sunset. And it was the cutest
So
thing.
beautiful.
The kids are between 3 and 6. It's just,
Yeah,
and so
it's beautiful. They're sponges, that becomes a language for them.
100%.
Like kids can absorb languages, like that is a language, like being able to speak to your nervous system and
Yes.
connect with your body and all of these amazing tools. I think it's so, so cool and impactful.
Yeah.
You shared with me before, and I think that a lot of the work that you've done is on processing trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and that, at different points in our lives, we like face trauma or we recall trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with us impactful moments or experiences of trauma and how you've processed them throughout your life?
Yes, yes. So, from the ages of 8 to 12, I was being sexually assaulted by my male babysitter. And at the time, I remember, so he was like a third string babysitter. He's like the last resort for my parents. If we
Yeah.
had our favorites like around the neighborhood, which our next door neighbor, Allie, and then Sonia across the street. And then there was Anthony, who just expressed that he wanted to watch us, which I thought, I, that was, I mean, now that I'm looking back, I'm like, that's weird, but it is, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just like, there's a
Yeah.
teen kid who wants to make some money. So my parents are like, sure, we're going to go out to a
Yeah.
movie. And they wanted, they never really had time to connect. They had 3 kids. Like our life was so busy. We had so many activities in school and they were working. And so I get it now looking back, like, okay, you just want some help
Yeah.
you just want some help.
I mean, speaking of trying to like regulate your own nervous system so then you can be a space for your kids,
Yes.
and like,
Yeah. You just want some help. So he would babysit us, and yeah, this happened over the course of 4 years. But he would sexually assault me. And then I just remember so vividly one time when my parents were out and he was, he was laying down on the couch and wanting me to perform like sexual acts on him. And my brother went up to the window and was like, my dad's here. My dad's coming. And I remember him pulling his pants up and like, just like sitting on the couch, just like, because he would tell us, he's like, you're not going to be able to watch The Little Mermaid unless you do this. You're not going to get to watch whatever, Saved by the Bell, unless you do this. So that was, and also you can't tell anybody because then you're going to get in trouble and everybody's going to get in trouble. And then that you're just filled with fear because you don't want anyone to get in trouble. You don't want to get in trouble. You feel like you're already doing something bad. So when my brother said, oh, our parents are here, and he got ready and like put his clothes back on, I remember running to the kitchen to get the $20 that my dad had laid out to give to him. And my dad like came in and opened the door and was like, oh, hey, Anthony, like how'd it go? And I had already given him the $20. So I just wanted him to leave. I was like, just leave.
Just get out.
Yeah. And my dad actually ended up paying him as well. So he got paid double. And I didn't, but because he didn't know I already gave him the $20 that was there. And I remember my dad looking for the $20, being like, where's that $20? And I was like, I gave it to him. And he was like, no, you didn't. He's like, because I gave him $20 like outside by the car. So where's the $20? And I was like, I did. I gave it to him. And so I got in trouble. And I remember just feeling so much like he was yelling at me. I shouldn't have given him the $20. Now he got paid double. And then I'm like, I got in trouble for just trying to like get this
unsafe person
out of my house, like away from me. Yeah. And so at that point, I was like, okay, obviously like extremely sad. But all of these memories were blocked out of my, like, I just did not have access to them my whole entire, like the rest of my childhood. Even growing up into adulthood, my teen years and going into college. I remember being, I think it was maybe a sophomore or 19. So I think that might be a sophomore at UCLA. And I was home for a weekend, and at school, I had been having these visions of sexual assault, and it just felt so real, but I also didn't have any, like, I just was like, is that really real? Like, I couldn't grasp it. And when I was home for the weekend, I remember being in my childhood bedroom. My mom was cooking in the kitchen of our childhood home. And I had asked my sister, and my sister confirmed that it was true. I just went running out there and I started crying, and I told my mom. And I think my expectation of how I thought she was going to respond would be rage. Let's go after him. We need to call the cops. Well, you know what I mean? Like years had passed by that.
Protection.
Yeah. Protection, going into like fight mode. Right.
Yeah.
But the way that she received it, she was upset, but she was more sad and kind of just sat with it. And I just felt like, oh no, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not receiving the response or the protection that I thought that I should get. So I immediately just buried it down again. And it wasn't until I was in like 27, 28 that it started to come up. And it started to become something that I was like, it's time. I have to get this out. It's affecting me. It was just the perfectionism, as I mentioned before, was a mechanism of control. As I mentioned, like I thought to myself, if I could be perfect, then no one would find this out about me. If I could be perfect, then maybe the shame would go away because people would love me for all these other wonderful things that I did and that I became. And so if I could become something, then I'm not that. And I just started to do the inner work, and I started to meditate, and I started to sit with myself, and I started to really just be like, it's time to actually like talk about this. And I remember just starting to just actually say something about it to like my girlfriend. We just sat together, and I went down a rabbit hole. I was like, I gotta find him. I gotta find out where he lives. I'm gonna message him. I went on like yearbook.com to figure out like, I Googled his previous address. I went down like, I'm like, okay, so this is the plan. Like I'm going to take him to court. I'm going to do all these things. Yeah. And then I couldn't find him. I couldn't remember his last name. I couldn't figure out anything. I had just remembered that at some point they moved to Texas. And I was like, my whole thing, one of the things that my friend asked me, she's like, if you find him, what are you going to do? Like, what is it that you want to say? And I'm like, I just want to ask him why. And she was like, and then what? Then
And what if you don't get what you're kind of expecting?
he,
Kind of so to like what you told your mom, like what if like because you have an expectation of like, oh, what
exactly.
I'm going to say this, then they're going to do this, and then I'll feel better,
100%.
because of this external kind of validation, right?
Yes.
Or like answer
Yes.
outside
I
you.
wanted him to hold him accountable. I wanted him to take accountability. And then I wanted him to present a solution. Like, what was the solution that he
Yeah,
was going to present to me? I also,
right.
I'm like, what could you possibly say or do that would make me feel better? I also thought, if he has children, his wife should know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I need to keep these children safe from this
right.
monster. So I thought about that, and then I couldn't find him. So then I was just like stuck with this feeling, and I'm like, and these thoughts and these emotions, and I just didn't know what to do with them. So I started journaling, and I started meditating more. And when I started to talk about it and really share my feelings, I realized it's not my fault. I am bigger than what happened to me. It doesn't define me. I have been trying to perform, like to be perfect, to hide these pieces of me where I can just love those pieces of me that didn't receive the protection and the love that I needed at the time. And so I took that approach to love those pieces of me. And I just remember, like, even getting into a relationship with Greg, my husband, I just told him, I said, when we first started dating, I'm like, I experienced some sexual trauma growing up, and I have a really hard time having sex face to face. I don't like to do that because I don't want you to see me. I don't want you to look into my eyes. And I was like, but with you, I feel so safe. And I think I can have sex face to face with you. And he was like, okay, babe. Like, he was just so like,
Yeah, he's like, I'm here. Tell
yeah,
me more.
yeah.
Yeah,
And he was like, what's going on? Like, he didn't, I didn't give
yeah,
him all the details, but I was just like, this is something that, yeah, I have this. I just remember, like, the way that I would connect to like people throughout like relationships with men. I would self-sabotage them all the time. Like, truly, they were toxic because you accept the love that you think that you deserve, right? So
hmm,
I would attract people that would be mean to me because inside I was being mean to myself. Like,
yeah,
I was not saying nice things about myself. I didn't accept myself because I was not perfect. And so that goes back to, again, like that psychic being like, why do you think that no one will love you if you're not perfect? And so everything just started to make sense. And I started to connect the dots. And I just said, perfectionism doesn't exist. It just doesn't.
yeah.
And it's just,
Well,
yeah.
I think that perfectionism and need to control things are so tied together.
Yeah.
I can so relate to that. And I think that sometimes when you are achievement based, and you're looking for validation and stuff, and then something, so you kind of feel like, well, I can control my
Mm-hmm.
outcomes. I can control how I measure up to this, and this. And then something happens to you that is outside your control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how do I integrate that? This was not what I wanted, clearly,
Mm-hmm.
but how do how, your impulse is to take it in and say like, well, this must have happened to me for some reason, or that I must have done something wrong to deserve this thing to happen to me. Or like your mind just finds all these different, it's really hard to integrate something like that when you're like, no, there just isn't an explanation for it. It was wrong
Right.
and I didn't deserve it, you
Right.
know?
But sometimes that just seems like an unacceptable answer, right? Because you're just
Yeah.
like, well, that's not
I can't
how,
explain it. I can't find justice
right.
even. Like I can't somehow rewrite it the way like, oh, okay, if I go and tell him this, then he's going to respond this way
Mm-hmm.
and say sorry. And then now it's something I controlled the narrative again.
Yep. Yeah.
Where it's like
And it,
I feel like looking back, one of my that experience for me was I was in a traumatic car accident with my sister in high
mm,
school. And I feel like from that moment was like, there was just this like cascade of like really needing that like control. Like I was just seeking control in a lot of ways. And that I feel like even that one experience still like has kind of like effects on me to this day because it was just something that I was like, I don't have context. I don't have an explanation for why that happened.
I completely agree, and I feel like control feels like a false sense of safety because
Hmm.
you can predict what's happening next. So I notice about myself when I go into these like I would say, yeah, when I get into like this mode of like I need to control this. I actually just talked about this the other day. Like when I first started
Hmm.
dating Greg, the first date that we went on, he's like, I'm going to send you an Uber and you're going to meet me at the Staples Center. We're going to go to a basketball game. And I cried in the Uber and I was calling my mom and I'm like, I want to drive my own car because what if I don't like him? Then I want to be able to drive home. And she was like, you can just take an Uber home. Like you can, you know, and I was,
He's just trying to be nice.
yeah,
Like,
no. And I was like, cause what if I don't
yeah.
like him? And then he told me he's going to drive me home, but I don't want him to come to my house. And then it's really like my whole entire life, I've had to like make an exit plan for something. Like if this goes wrong, this is my exit. This is my next move. This is what I'm going to do to
Right. You
ensure
kind of.
that that I feel safe. And I was always looking for safety outside of myself. Who's going to protect me? Who's going to keep me safe? I need something to keep me safe. And I've literally just learned safety comes from inside of you. You create that safe space by loving those parts of you and going back to those moments where you felt unsafe and parenting that version of you and reintegrating that version of you and letting that version of you know you are safe, you are loved. It's okay to be you, you know? It's okay to ask for help. I never wanted to ask for help because I felt like it was never going to be answered, that people weren't going to help me, that it was a sign of weakness, that I should be able to help myself. There's no virtue. You know what I mean? Like there's no reward for the woman that just runs herself into the ground. Like
Yeah.
it just, you know,
Like, and no one actually wants that for you, you
exactly.
know? And honestly, like, no one actually cares that much about kind of anyone else, you know? It's like,
Exactly.
no one cares that much, you know? So it's like,
Exactly.
you don't need to measure up to their standards because they just literally don't care about you that much, you know?
100%.
Like,
Like,
that's just how life is. Like, people just don't care about those details in your
no,
life
100%.
that
And I
much.
feel like I look back and I'm like, wow, so many of these, like you mentioned earlier, I don't want to lose like part of my goal oriented self where it's like, I like to achieve things. It makes me feel good. And so sometimes I have to check myself and be like, where is this coming? Where is this stemming from? Is this
Mhm.
stemming from a place of like needing validation, or is it actually something that I want to achieve? Is this actually the goal
Yeah.
that I'm setting myself, or is it something that I need to feel like other people see me like, you know, in that way as a high
Yeah.
achiever? And I mean, I just feel like we're all putting so much pressure on well, I'll speak for myself. I put so much pressure on myself, and I've learned to really just take a deep breath and model that for my inner child. Like take a deep breath and you're safe to be in your body and to relax. And as I do that, it allows me to just be okay with not always rushing to the next thing, getting the next thing, trying to go down a path that might not be mine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like what you were saying about being a parent and how it just brings up like all of the even like things you didn't know were issues in you or things that made you discomfort or uncomfortable or weaknesses, triggers. It's like parenting kind of brings that up and it's like it can make it feel like, oh my gosh, like this is not just hard because I have to show them and help them and make them feel safe and supported, but I'm also like having to take the parts of myself, you know, it's like either you that can feel miserable
Mm-hmm.
or you can be like, I'm getting an opportunity to reopen my child, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
reparent myself. And, you know, if I'm going to be a container for their emotions, I'm also going to do the same for mine,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's like such an opportunity to kind of like rewrite your own story while you're, you know, helping them write theirs. It's really wild.
I no, I truly believe that. I feel like there's so much growth that happens in parenting. It's such a unique experience that really I can't compare to anything else in life. Like,
Yeah.
I was never someone that was like, I need to be a mom. Like when I was growing up, or even in relationships, like I would have conversations with my partners at the time, and they would be like, "Oh, do you want to be a mom?" And I'm like, "Sure, I guess if it happens for
Yeah.
me." Like,
Lovely.
yeah, like
Actually, about 10 years from now, that's on my plan to do this and this. That's what my parents said.
yeah, because like, but a part of me was like, I don't want to be responsible for someone else. I'm not even responsible for myself at this moment. Like I had at least that level of awareness. And then when I became pregnant with my first son, it was like, I was like, oh wow, this is happening. I'm going to be a mom. And I remember one of my best friends was like, are you serious? Like you're pregnant? And her response to me sharing that I was pregnant was so shocking to me. She was just like, I don't understand. Like we had plans. We were going to go to travel and do all these things. We're supposed to be on a yacht in the south of France. Like, how are you going to do that
Yeah.
when you're pregnant? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm,
Yeah, it's like a different
yeah,
journey.
I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know. And it actually opened up so many beautiful areas of me that I hadn't met yet. I met myself every time I birthed each child. I met a new version
Yeah.
of myself, and you go through like postpartum and it feels like you're on this like crazy ride where you don't know who you are and you're like, who am I? And you're just reintegrating back into your body and like, and also taking care of this life outside of you that was in your body. And then you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for you and me. And
Yeah.
I have a husband, and it's just like, and
Yeah.
I have responsibilities, and it can be a lot to hold. But you come out, everything is temporary. What I've realized, like everything is temporary. So it can feel so heavy. But as you come out to the other side, and you're on the other side of like the craziness, I would say like past year 2, it just feels like it's so beautiful. Parenting is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful experience. You can't compare it to anything. And I want to be sensitive to the fact that there are people that want to be parents and they can't. And I hope that everyone that wants that gets to experience that, because I don't take it for granted at all, the position that I'm in. And I just want to be as present and just open to whatever it is I need to experience as it comes, because I know it's a privilege. And it's just, yeah, my life has just kind of blossomed in so many ways. But there are challenges that come with it. But there again, like you navigate through everything. I don't know how. It's just this internal
Well, it's not,
system.
it's funny because I feel like we've evolved in so many different ways through the process of becoming parents, becoming adults, but in a way it's still that feeling of being in college and being like,
Yeah. I don't know what
I
I'm
don't
doing.
fully know. Like I can't tell you how many situations per week I'm in where it's like I look at my husband, I'm like, what do we do with that?
Yeah.
Or like, let's try this,
Yeah.
and like you read what you can, you take whatever knowledge you think, you listen to your intuition, and then it's like kind of experimentation again. It's like, cool. Like I'm in a stage of like deep growth right now again,
Yeah.
and it's like, what a privilege to be placed in those situations where I am, being molded
Yeah.
and stretching and trying new things, even in
Expansion.
this kind of middle state of life in a way.
Yes. I feel like it's
Well,
clearly is expansion.
yeah, we always like to conclude our interviews with the same question. What is a characteristic, personality trait, something about you when you were a teen girl that you maybe didn't appreciate back then, but you can look back and love now that you're in the place you're in now?
I would say I think like the depth of of the feeling that I can experience, the depth of emotion, because I was always told that it was just too much. You cry too much, you know what I mean? Like you like you want so much, and I feel like now it's like, because I allow myself to go to these depths, I can meet people at those depths. It allows me to connect to people on a deeper level. And I was afraid for people to see that about me before. Like I, again, like thought you had to be poised and, and I was scared to really, yeah, to really express the fullness of me. And now that I realize that that's really a superpower, if you can feel deeply and you can connect to people and the world around you, that truly is a superpower, because people are looking for connection. And that's what we truly need. Like, if you look at the stats, like what really actually helps to increase like lifespan is connection. That's the one thing that if you're connected, you are statistically going to have a longer life. So being in social groups and connecting with, the people around you, that plays a huge part in the longevity of your life.
Breann, you're just so incredible. And I mean, that literally in a nutshell is the whole purpose of our podcast and our organization and our community, is having that feeling of connection and that feeling of allowing people to see you and seeing others, and like in the realness, the rawness,
Mm-hmm.
in the working version, not the
Yes.
presented like, now I'm going to tell you about my career and shiny number 1, shiny number 2, and shiny number
Yep.
3, the end. But like, here's the raw stuff, and it came together, and like it's all still part of who I am right now. I honestly feel like it was just meant to be when you joined our community years and years ago. I felt just like the impact of that deeply feeling. I could feel it from the second you sat down with the
Mm.
girls that we were working with. And I'm just honored to be your friend today. So thank you for being on the podcast. This was
Thank you
awesome.
so much for holding the space and allowing me to share my story, and for creating this amazing platform, because I really do think it's something that if I had when I was growing up, I would have felt, again, connection. I would have felt like I belonged somewhere. I would have felt like it was okay to be me. And that's really important. Like, it's okay to be you. It's more than okay to be you.
It's what everybody needs.
Yeah.
It's literally what the world needs.
Exactly. The world doesn't need you to be, like so and so. The world needs you to be you. And so I'm just so happy that this is a message that you guys are sharing, and the platform that you have that is so beautiful and inspiring. So thank you so much.
And that's our show. If you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe to, follow, and share Meet Bridget with your circle. The best way to help our work here is to rate and review our podcast. We're listening and constantly working to build something helpful for you. Catch you next time.
Bring it